You ever stick your hand out the window while you're driving down the road and you realize that as you turn your hand just a little bit, the wind coming past the vehicle will cause your hand to rise and to fall, and it's just a little bit of a tilt in or out or up or down. And if you do it just right, you can actually direct the wind into the car. But you got to hold your hand really firm to be able to redirect the wind. Otherwise, the movement of the wind, the air, actually redirects you. That's influence. That's impact. Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. Impact is one of those things that, and my friend Steve Cohen, I've tagged him in this video because yesterday he made me really think about the statement that I made. Influence is impact in action. Impact is influence in action. And I really believe that impact comes when influence is applied, when influence does something, i.e. the hand out the window, or if you've got a tiny little boat in the bathtub or a tiny little boat in a pond and you simply swipe your hand through the water and don't touch the boat. The movement of your hand in the water changes the direction of the water, changes the flow of the water, and it can turn the little boat over or capsize it. The wind and the waves in a storm can capsize a cruise ship. Those realities are really easy to see because they're physical representations. But how many times have you had someone in your life, maybe a parent, a teacher from the past? Charlotte Groves McMillan and I are still connected on Facebook. She was my 7th grade choir teacher. And she was my choir teacher for all 7 years in performing choir and madrigals and all of those points in my life. And there was a season in my life that I called her mom. She was that impactful in my life. The relationships that I had, the hours that we spent talking after class or between class, it was very impactful in my life. It changed the direction of my life in a lot of ways. In the same way that swiping your hand through the water might cause that little boat to change direction or capsize, her relationship with me, her conversations with me changed the direction of my life. The first time I was on a conference call with John Maxwell, and John said, I don't need you to be somebody else. I need you to be, the world needs you to be, you, the best you can be. That level of influence I gave John Maxwell. Let that sink in for a second. I gave him that level of influence because I respect his authority in the world of leadership. I'm working on a new ebook right now, and those are kind of the stages of what's coming together. First, you've got to build authority to become a trusted authority. Then you've got to be respected, and there are ways to earn respect and build that respect, and that gives you influence, and then that influence leads to impact, and then that impact leads to your story power. But the story power is really the beginning and the end. It's the loop. It's the constant loop. What you say about you is what builds your brand, which is your authority. See, when I gave John Maxwell the authority to speak into my life, I was 20 the first time, and I gave him the authority to do that through a book. I said, here, teach me something about leadership. Becoming a Person of Influence was the first book I read by John Maxwell. Now here I am 25, almost 30 years later, still reading, still studying what John Maxwell pours into the world because I believe the influence that he offers is intentionally designed for a positive impact. The question I want to challenge you with is, will you find yourself like the bully or like the random emotional attacker? We've all experienced them at least once or twice in life, that person who refuses to open the door, or they cut you off in the parking space, or they grab your drink at the coffee counter while you're waiting, and they're just going about their life with no conscious awareness of how their presence, their tone of voice, their body language, their behavior influences the people around them. If you've ever had that person that just kind of steps into your space and they stand too close and you feel like, back off a little bit. You literally will move because they're standing too close. Even if there's never been a word exchanged. They're just in your comfort zone and it causes you to change your comfort zone. That's influence. They're influencing your behavior. They're impacting your choices simply by their presence. Now, there are people who do that unintentionally, and then there are people who do that intentionally. The idea of zip tying your windshield wipers together. It's to change your behavior. It's to influence your behavior so that they can make you an easier target for kidnapping or robbery or sex trafficking or whatever it is that their end game is. See, influence and impact, they go together. One is the result of the other. And because that's true, we have to be very intentional about our influence and very intentional about our impact. And if we haven't thought first, who will this influence impact and what direction will it cause them to go, then we may say or do or behave or simply be the kind of person that causes danger, that causes risk. There are a lot of high-powered media people who are surrounded by an entourage, and a lot of people think when they do that, whether they're pastors or they're authors or they're speakers or they're public servants, i.e. politicians, or whatever they are, celebrities in media, that when they're surrounded by an entourage that they're stuck up, they're standoffish, they don't want to be touched by anybody else because they think they're too important. No, it's usually kind of the opposite. It's that they understand that because they've been in an elevated stature, they have a level of influence that, well, it can drive problems. Some people use it. And when I say use, I mean to manipulate. And some people guard it cautiously, understanding the level of influence that they have and how dangerous that can be for someone who's seeking what shouldn't be sought. If you have influence in somebody's life, it's because they've given you the authority to influence them. If you take advantage of that influence, or if you force that influence in someone's life who hasn't intentionally given you the authority, you run the risk of harming them and yourself. So I want to challenge you as leaders, as communicators, as you continue to grow your level of influence through authority and respect, please do so with great caution. Understand the magnitude of the impact that you can have in somebody's life. Measure yourself. Measure your influence. But more than that, measure the authenticity and the integrity of your character that cause you to have influence so you don't risk doing harm to someone else. Make sure that you're adding value. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
Leadership team. If attitude is going to have a deep impact on your business and bottom line, make it a positive attitude with a positive impact. Visit jlorennorris.com/attitude hack